y'all, it's DeSade. We back at it again with the back edit again. Today's video is sponsored by Beauty Forever Hair. Shout out to them for reaching out to me, wanting to partner with me, and shout out to me. The bag is secured. So they sent me quite a few goodies. I also have this bonnet, y'all, because it only makes sense, right? You got new bundles. Of course, you need a new bonnet. You can't put your new bundles on your old bonnet. Also, we have a return policy for all of you negative Nancy's who love to complain about everything. If for whatever reason you have to return your hair, put it up in this envelope, ship it off. There you go. Okay, so today we're gonna hand stitch our wig, so get ready. This is everything we need: a wig cap, thread, and needles. Some people like to have multiple needles already threaded, but me, I'm at the house chilling. I don't care. The first thing you want to do is get your wig cap and place it onto the wig head. When placing your frontal, you don't want to line the lace up with the cap, and you also don't want to line the front hairline up with the cap, but instead pull the hairline a little bit in front of the cap to make sure it fits. A lot of people cross out using foam heads when making a wig, but they don't know what they're doing. Pull the hairline down a little bit in front of the cap and you will be all right. So now it's time to place our frontal. You don't want to pull it straight down because it won't fit, and you also don't want to pull it back because when you put your wig on, all of your edges will be left out. Like, it will not cover your entire hairline. Make sure that you pull it a little bit forward to make sure everything is covered. So now that you have your frontal tacked down and ready on both sides, you can go ahead and braid your frontal to get the hair out of the way. And now it's time to thread the needle. So just take the thread through the needle, pull it, pull it, pull it, and then you cut it. And when you bring both of the loose ends together, you could tie it 2 to 3 times. 2 times should be fine. And now you ready to sew your frontal down. In my opinion, sewing the frontal down is the easiest part of making a wig. All you have to do is locate towards the back of the frontal. It's like a little gap where no hair is. I just go down through that, then I also go down through the cap and pull it. And then once you get to the end of the thread, you will notice that it's an opening you can go through. Take the needle through that opening, and when you pull it, as you see, you have formed a knot. And that's just to make sure that as you continue to sew down the frontal, nothing to slip and come out. So now you're going to repeat the same steps. Go through the frontal, go through the cap, and then you all see the opening again that I have. You're going to take the needle up through that, and as you continue to pull it, you'll see once you're done that you created a little loop knot. So if you do this throughout the entire frontal, you don't have to worry about the thread coming loose. Oh girl, your thread showing, now your friend got to cut it. All that old ghetto stuff, just do your loop knot and you good. And another thing, when sewing down your frontal, don't put a big gap in between each stitch, because once you're done, you will see like where each stitch is, all of that space in between, it'll start to pucker up, like it will lift up. So take your time, be consistent, make sure that you have like kind of the same amount of space between each stitch. And this is pretty much all I have to say as far as sewing down your frontal. And I'm gonna let this run because I'm gonna be honest, when I was trying to watch videos on how to make a wig with a sewing machine, no one was taking their time to actually give me a step-by-step on what to do. They would show them doing it, but as far as teaching, they weren't really doing it. So I'm finna show y'all everything I do, and if it's moving too slow for you, just go to settings and hit 2 times. You can go 2 times faster than what I'm showing, because I promised myself that I will start back teaching people how to do things instead of just showing me do things, because I was lost. I'm like, okay, what setting is your sewing machine on? What is this? What is that? So yeah, I want to make sure that y'all can see everything from every angle, so ain't nobody got no questions. And if you do got some questions, comment down below and I'll come back with another video just for you. But once you make it all the way down to the end of the frontal, as you all see, you will come to the elastic band portion. You go through the cap and through the top mesh part. The elastic band is under the mesh. You can go through the band if you want to, but it's easier for me to go ahead and go through the mesh, because if I go through the band too many times, like my thread will probably bunch up and I don't have time for that. So yeah, go through the frontal, go through the mesh, and then do your loop knot. And now when I get to the end, as you all see, I'm going to go through the lace frontal, and then I'm going to go through the edge of the band. And I'm going to take my thread, wrap it around the needle 3 to 4 times to make sure that it's really secure. And I'm going to cut it, tie it 4 times, and then you just want to go ahead and cut off the rest of the thread. My brain left me. I was thinking like, what was I talking about? I tied it way more than 4 times, I think. But yeah, this is it. Then you want to do the same thing to the other side. And hurry up, please. Okay, get your wig on. Who niggas I said? Okay, now I'm finna sew down my longest length. I have 2 26-inch bundles and 1 24-inch bundle. You want to sew down the longest length first. I'm doubling it up because I don't want to run out of room. I don't want to have a bundle and a half up on my head. That's not what we're doing. So you want to take your needle, go up through the mesh part, and then go up through the lace, and then you just want to pull it, pull it, pull it. And when you come down to the end, you all will see that you have like a little loop that you can go through. Take it through the loop, pull it, and then it creates your knot so your bundle won't slip off. And to ease my mind, I'm gonna do the exact same thing again. Go through the mesh, go through the frontal, do my loop knot. Then I'm gonna cut it and tie the thread to make sure that my bundle is like with the frontal real good. Alright, so now it's time to sew our first bundle. I did not sew these bundles together. I just have them laying on top of each other. So, first thing you want to do, pin it down and line it up the way you want it to go. I'm going to go under both of the tracks, go through the mesh cap, and then I'm going to do the same loop knot method that I showed you all. And I just want to do this till I make it to the other side. Then I'm going to show you how to do the flip over method. Oh, and also I think I do mine's like a finger width apart or probably a thumb width apart. You don't want to be too far apart because like I said, you don't want your stuff to be lifting all up. Yeah, make sure that they close together, because if it's a lot of space, honey, that wig, when you get to the top of your head, you're gonna see them tracks lifting up, and we ain't got time for that. Once you make it to the other side, you want to go through both of those bundles, go under the cap, under the frontal, and then you want to pull it through and do your loop knot method. I'm going through the bundles instead of going under them because you want to make sure everything is secure. You don't want anything sliding and sticking up. Oh, I see a track. Nope. Who track you see? No, man, you see a mama track. Okay, I'm gonna stop. But yeah, just make sure that you do this to make sure that everything is tied down and secure. And for my peace of mind, I do it twice just to make sure I'm not clockable. Okay, now you can go ahead and cut your bundles, but me personally, I ain't cutting nothing. I'm gonna do the flip over method. So instead of flipping both of them over, laying both of them on top of each other, because that will be bulky if you do it that way, first you want to flip one of them over. Go through the bundle, go through the mesh, and remember this is a new needle, so we starting it off the same way we normally do. You're gonna pull it, take it through the little loop at the end, and make your loop knot, okay? So you're gonna make sure that that's very secure. Now you can go ahead and flip over the second one, and as you all see, I'm putting it up under the first one. I'm doing it this way because if you style your frontal like me, I put a lot of braids up in my frontal. So imagine if we laid them both on top of each other and flipped them over. It'll be bumpy. So if you had a deep part up in your frontal or anything, you will see that your tracks are standing up. So instead, I just flip them over individually, and that's how we, don't have any lumps and bumps. What's up, y'all? This DeSade. We back at it again with the back at it again, but this time I got a little twist for y'all that's not even DeSade. Hey y'all, this is All of Destiny, and I'm doing a voiceover takeover for the rest of my sister's video. Maybe. We'll see. Stay tuned. So I want to add in a little bit to what she's already informing you guys on as far as making the wig. I love everything that I've seen so far. So right here you can see that she's connecting the end of that track to the frontal. You always want everything as a whole to be connected. This is one unit, so we want to treat it as such. And when you get to the end, you always want to connect to the frontal, and when you get to starting a new track, you always want to connect that to your frontal as well. So she's going underneath the track, through the frontal, through the cap, and then she's making sure to knot that, and she's going to go ahead and cut the track. Prior to this, none of the tracks were cut. Now she's already put the thread through, and she's going to tuck that underneath the frontal again, opening the thread up, and she's basically going to place the needle in between that, and this is going to give her a knot. That way she's tying it at the beginning, and then once she makes it all the way back around to the left, she's going to tie that again. So each individual track is tied down completely, and it cannot come down. Pinning the hair down with a T-pin just keeps you from having to hold the track while you're sewing at the same time. The way you can use both your hands for sewing and not for holding the track. So she's going through the weft, underneath the cap, and then back through, looping that through and around with the needle. Also notice that the space that she's taking is not a big jump. Like, it's not like Captain May I take 5 jumps. No, because if you go from spinning all the way to the left side and then jumping all the way to the right, when you brush through your hair, your brush is going to get stuck between your tracks. So don't try to be quick with this. Keep it nice and snug. And this one is secure. I think she's finishing that bundle. Yep, there's a new bundle. So let's see what we got going. Alright, so let's go ahead and open that. She's just going to take off the wrapping on the bundle and then remove the rubber band. Going around the top portion is quicker, that way you won't tangle up the hair, and you just want to slowly unravel the hair to also keep it nice and detangled. So starting off the same way, notice if you look very close, the space between her tracks are not too far apart. You don't want your tracks to be seen, so you don't want to take any big jumps with doing this. Going underneath the track, underneath the cap, and pulling that through nice and snug. And the only time that she's going through the weft is when she gets from one side to the other. So where your starting point is, where she is right now, and then when she makes it all the way around to the other side. So think of it as point A and point B. Every time you're to the left side of starting off, when you make your way all the way around, that's when you want to go back through the weft again, because you want to make sure each individual track is secure. Now her tracks are going to go straight up instead of curving them, since she's getting closer to the top of the wig. And the reason for this is because this portion of the wig is what sits on the top of your head, so you don't want that to be lumpy. So by going straight back, you're already laying it in a flattened position. And notice right here, she's not doubling the tracks either, because you don't want it to be too bulky or too thick, because you're already going to brush the frontal hair, depending on the way you part it, over that portion of the tracks. At your starting point A, you always go through the weft. That secures it. Make sure that it won't come down. And you can also go through this more than once. Like, you don't have to loop it just one time. You can stay in that same spot and loop it through at least 3 times maybe, and then begin to spread out going across the tracks. Notice that each time she puts the needle underneath the weft and through the cap, that she's not too far as the space goes. I would say she's probably doing like a 1/2 inch space. You don't have to grab a ruler or anything for that. Just make sure that you're staying very close, because you don't want to have any gaps when you brush through, then your comb gets stuck. Like, you don't want this, sis. You don't want it. All right, so she's going to start cutting them now, because again, even if you were to do the flip over method, you just want that to lay flat in the top of your head. So single tracking it right now, and then not doing the flip over. And each time that she starts off a new track, she does go through the weft. I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over, but following this along definitely helps. And the more that you do this, you definitely get the hang of doing it. And once you get to that top portion, it's like, yeah, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Okay, so she's almost making it to the top. To start off by connecting this track, she's going through the weft of a previous track, also through the weft of the new track that she's beginning, and then she's going through that thread that creates the knot that she was talking about. Also notice that the amount of space she has is probably about half an inch from that previous track, and she's just going to begin. Oh, she's making quite a few knots. Okay, sis, she said this ain't coming down. Alright, so now she's going underneath the weft, underneath the cap, and then she's pulling it through. And also notice too, y'all, if y'all look at that other hand, she's already guiding the thread in that direction. And so when she goes underneath the weft and then underneath the cap, she's also going underneath that thread, which is locking each individual sewing method in. I don't even know what this is called, but you know. Once she makes it to point B, she's going back through and underneath the wefts again, underneath the cap, and everything is connected. To secure all of the loose ends, so you want to kind of cut that and tie it a few times, and then trim off the excess thread that sticks out below the knot. So this is the last track that we're going to use to seal everything off. She's going underneath the frontal, basically through that weft. She's also going through the weft of the track that she's about to do last, and this secures everything together. So with this one, this track, she's going through the weft again, probably because she's still close to point A, and then she's going underneath the frontal. So basically where the frontal was sewn down previously before any of these tracks were added on is the same spot that you're going under as you sew it down. And I know you may think like, oh, I'm like putting the thread through the hair and this and that, but once you wash this wig and you begin brushing it and everything, all of the hair gets untangled from being like tied down by the thread. So don't focus on that part while you're sewing. So she's continuing to try to keep that track laying flat, but this is our final track, so you want this to be connected to the frontal. Imagine trying to adjust your frontal and nothing else about your wig is moving because they weren't connected at all. So that's the reason for sewing everything together. That's why when you get to point A, you're going underneath the wefts to connect that, and then when you get to the other side, you're connecting as well. Alright, so once you've connected all of that track to the frontal and no more of the cap can be seen, that's when you want to go ahead and begin making your last little knots. So just cut the thread from the needle and then tie it up a few times. Cut off that excess thread, cut off the rest of the track, and now give me my wig, sis. Like, look, she stood aside like, I don't need you no more. So what you want to do is turn your wig inside out. You want to remove that excess lace from underneath the frontal. Like, you don't want to just put the wig on like this, because then you won't be able to really, I mean, you don't want to see your lace when you apply it, but you won't be able to see your lace because of the cap being in the way. You can let it hang the way that she's doing. It helps you to get very close, and you can't mess this up. All you're doing is just cutting off all of the excess cap. This the part when you be like, yeah, I made my own wig. Pay who to make a wig? Pay who? Pay you? No. So now the wig is completed. This is what it looks like. She got inches, baby. DeSade, let me borrow her. Alright, so she's going to go ahead and section off the hair, and she's going to take her Remington flat iron. I need to borrow this flat iron. Like, look how wide it is. It's perfect for straightening, I wouldn't say large sections. She's still taking small sections, but it covers a large amount of an area of the hair really quickly. And she's chasing the hair with a brush to keep it nice and silky and smooth, looking oh so luscious and oh so good. Like, it's been a pleasure doing this voiceover. Olive Destiny signing out. Hey. No, I'm kidding. Let me do things properly. That is pretty much it for this video, guys. Questions or comments, be sure to leave all of that down below. Again, special thank you to Beauty Forever for sponsoring DeSade's video. As always, thank you so much for watching. And we out of here. That's what DeSade be saying.